Welcome to Target Score Vancouver podcast. It's all part of the Target Score podcast network. I am Chris Wiggins, sideline reporter with the CEBL, the Vancouver Bandits, and CBC Sports. Joining me, of course, for the first inaugural episode, Joey Slattery, creator of Target Score Podcast Network. Of course, Joey's been doing the Target Score Winnipeg podcast for the last couple of seasons, putting in the work, putting in the time. Let's give this man some flowers because we've expanded the Target Score Podcast Network. Yeah, I know you're a humble guy. You don't like to hear the compliments, but I got to give you the flowers, man, because this opportunity isn't happening without you. And it's so great to get some more comprehensive coverage of the CEBL across different markets for this coming season and into the future.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy to be on this. Thanks for asking me to come on the podcast to be your first co-host. And yeah, I know Target Score has been around like itself for 4 seasons, particularly out of Winnipeg, where it's been mostly Sea Bears based. We do talk about the CEBL, but yeah, there's a huge opportunity here, and we have so many talented people around this league, whether they're directly involved or not. And this is something that I've been working on for a while, as you well know, because you were the guy that I'd often confide in with these ideas and, the rebrands and the million different, concepts that I had of trying to go into this year with a couple of new episodes or new shows, I should say. Welcome to our friends in Brampton, too. Target Score Brampton joining the network. Danung Balsera, a great sideline reporter. If you're a CBL fan, you would have seen him on plenty of the CBL on TSN broadcasts over the years. And if you are a Blue Jays fan, he was the Blue Jays host for a number of years at the Sky Dome. So a very well-known face.
And the most energetic guy across Ontario, honestly.
100%. Yeah. A real public figure, Chris Wiggins.
Absolutely.
We're playing public figure. He's a real one. And Matt Bottomy, who's, one of the great play-by-play announcers in our league, does great work with Brampton. And every now and again, he'll fill in for, Niagara or whatever teams in Ontario as they're in close quarters. But really happy to have you guys all along. This is, comprehensive coverage for your team. You're going to get to know the players. You're going to get to know Chris, and you're going to feel a connection here, right, with your team, and make sure that all the information that you need from week to week is there for you. So just make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts. Really happy everybody's along, and I'm happy to be along for the ride.
Yes, and follow. Don't forget, follow on Instagram as well, at Target Score Pod, POD, at Target Score Pod. Look, Vancouver, I mean, it's one of the better fan bases across the CEBL.
100%.
I might be a little bit biased, but I mean that arena, LAC, is filled every night. I mean, they had 4 or 5 sellouts last season. It's a very passionate fan base, and I think they were dying for some sort of extra coverage, podcasting, post-game show, whatever the case may be. So I'm really glad to be able to do this. And
there's no better person than you, buddy.
I appreciate that, man.
Person than you to do this.
That. Yeah, I appreciate that. How it's going to work? We're going to have some players, coaches. We're going to have interviews. We're going to have, we're going to run through the schedule, player profiles, whatever the case may be. This is the place to come to hear about Bandits, Bandits news, Bandits success stories, Bandits, coverage, all of that stuff. So today,
and you got a big guest later on this show.
And it had to be Duane Notice. That's our inaugural guest for today. We had a great chat with Duane moments ago, and so the cinephile Duane Notice himself, the guy from Scene DMs. This guy's been on like cameos with with movies and shows, and I'm pretty sure he had a cameo with Shorzy last season. Just won a championship in Sudbury, with the Basketball Super League. So awesome guy, back in Vancouver again for another summer, and we're looking forward to showing you and to have you listen to that chat with Duane.
I wish I knew he was on Shorzy.
Yeah, he was.
I went to school in Sudbury. I've only watched like the first 2 seasons, but I love it because I grew up in Timmins, Ontario. I went to school in Sudbury, Ontario, and both cities are in that show. The one thing, if you ever watch Shorzy, and I know there's some Sudburyans out in Vancouver and the West Coast, but there are some gems that I don't think the general public understands. There's some like hidden jokes for people that are from there. But oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, totally. So look forward to that chat, and that's coming up a little later in the show. Let's start with first quarter. Let's start with some new faces with the Vancouver Bandits. This roster is looking a lot different than it did last summer. Whether there are still some guys to report, maybe they're signed and they haven't announced it yet. The challenges with the CEBL is some of these players, report late, whether they're finishing in, their EuroLeague season or whether they're not quite ready to make the move out to Vancouver. whatever the case may be, there are some players that are going to report late. And that's the challenge with starting with the CEBL, starting the season with the CEBL. Some of these guys are going to be gone after 2 or 3 games. And so there's some new faces. And let's start with Miller Kopp, because Miller is the guy that I'm looking at. And I saw him in preseason action a couple of days ago and went, damn, this guy's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. He's got a sweet shooting stroke. He's got just that like baby face silent assassin. You don't really know what you're going to get from Miller Kopp. And look, Vancouver has had a lot of great shooters over the year. I'm thinking Kyle Mangus. I'm thinking Zach Copeland, Kobe McEwen, right? So there's some shooting shoes, if you will, to fill with Miller Kopp. And you know, he's going to fit right into that system. He's got that tenacity, you know, like that Kyle Julius loves. He's got that, you know, next man up mentality. He's got the up off the bench, clap when someone takes a charge, you know, that kind of, you know, camaraderie and chemistry with these guys already. And it fits right into Kyle Julius's system. And if you leave that man open, it's going down.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at just last year, Kyle Mangus, right? I mean, I believe he had a game-winning 3 against Winnipeg last year. But here's a guy who, you know, from Indiana, you know, a Hoosier at heart, came into Vancouver and landed himself an NBA 2-way contract with the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, this has been a part of the game where, you know, Vancouver's thrived over the years, is having that go-to shooter. And as you mentioned, right, like I love that Vancouver is able to fit in a preseason game out there. It helps so much to get that real game recognition. You know, the season just tipped off on Saturday, and for the Edmonton Stingers and for the Winnipeg Sea Bears, it's this weird kind of hybrid game because your opening game is kind of like a preseason game in the sense that it's the first time that coaches are getting to see their players and the media is getting to see their players in a game situation. It's a huge advantage for Vancouver, but you know, there's a very specific player that Kyle Julius likes to land on his teams. And I think it's why Vancouver's been so effective at creating the culture that it has, you know, so far. And, you know, I've said this before, it's kind of like the championship pedigree team without the banner. You know, it's just a matter of time, I think, before this team pushes through, and they have a great window. It's hard to say that there's a window of opportunity in the CEBL because there's so much turnover. But you look at the core that Kyle Julius has built and, you know, his go-to guys. These are guys that are veterans, right? Other than Tyrese Samuel, who is, you know, going to be the guy that carries the torch, I imagine, if he remains in Vancouver for the next few years, if he doesn't go to the NBA sooner, right? That's the other thing you always have to be aware of. But this is a good opportunity for a team that has just been there, whether it's, you know, the finals, the conference finals. You know, it's been a slog. And last year, the conference semifinals, which was wild, and we'll get into that a little bit. But, you know, I do think this is a team that has a sour taste in its mouth. I was there. I saw the raw emotion from the players right after the game when they lost to Calgary in that semifinal. And
the raw emotion from the fans. You were getting hit with foam basketballs. They were chucking them on the floor.
Water bottles. Like, and you know what I'll say about this, and not to get too much off track, but at the beginning of the show, you said, you know, one of the better fan bases in the CEBL. I knew it was good, but that was my first time in Vancouver. And I understand it's playoffs, so, you know, emotions are a little bit higher. But there's certain moments in this league where you realize it's not a novelty, right? In Winnipeg, it was when Teddy Allen got released. He's back now. But in 2024, when he got released mid-season, there was a media spike. There was, you know, people were pissed. Either the team or Teddy. Right. There was like you were on one side or the other, but it hit me then. I'm like, you know, I knew it, but it was validation of this is now a real part of the sports culture in Winnipeg. And for me, last year's playoff game in Vancouver was that for me. I'm not saying that was the moment for the entire, you know, the entire fan base. You're there more often than I am. But for me, it was this is a true passion for like there was genuine, you know, upset, genuine sense of upset, being pissed across the board. And this is a fan base that, you know, really has that emotion. And I think now it's also a fan base who's hungry for that championship. You're there, you think it's coming. And I think last year was a sure shot of anything can happen. We can't take anything for granted.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned, you know, Kyle Julius bringing in that, you know, those championship pedigree guys, and back to Miller Kopp just for a sec. Miller won a championship with the OKC affiliate in 2024. So he's been through a championship. We talked about Duane Notice winning one with the Basketball Super League in Sudbury a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago. So these guys have those the championship winning mentality. They are winners. And so, to your point, it is only a matter of time, in my opinion, and all bias aside, until Vancouver brings home a championship. It's just the way Kyle Julius has created that culture. And it'll be interesting to see how this summer plays out, whether it's this summer or a couple of summers to come. And I do think there are some players that are waiting in the wing that may or may not be signed, that are starting five level guys. And so it's going to change if they can float to maybe 500, just a little bit above 500 for the first 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 games. And then there's some other names that show up. You just got to tread water for a little bit. But Miller Kopp, again, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here, and I'll get used to the flow of this podcast, so I appreciate your patience. But Miller Kopp is one of 4 boys, all of which are D1 athletes, 2 basketball players, 2 football players, and his dad was a pro tennis player. So no shortage of athleticism in that family.
No, that's pretty intense. And those guys tend to be gamers. It sounds like that's something that comes in the lineage of that. And, even, as you'll hear later on in the show, when Duane Notice was talking about him, just some of the different attributes that he brings, that Kyle Mangus didn't bring to the table. And that's not a criticism, just, the style of play totally. That they play. But I think it's a huge addition. But the other one for me, you talk about championship pedigree, Michael Mulder, who played with the Golden State Warriors and has been around greatness of, Steph Curry and so on. To me, that's a guy that, again, just kind of reestablishes the culture. And I look at a guy curious, though, like, what he's going to bring to the table, but you can't deny the fact that he was with one of the greatest organizations of our time, and is probably bringing a lot of that pedigree to this club, right? So, that to me is one of the guys that I look at as a new perspective, where I'm really curious to see what he brings as a Canadian that has played in the NBA not just the NBA, but playing for a team, even though it's towards the end of its tenure, still with those guys that have seen success unlike we've ever seen.
Yeah, and how do you not learn from Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and Draymond, and like how do you not pick up better parts of your game while spending time with that organization with those types of guys? The question for me is he ready? Is he going to get a little bit of a rude awakening? He hasn't played, since 2024. Like is the pace, and Duane will allude to the pace of the CEBL and how some guys that are new to the CEBL don't really expect how fast and how physical the CEBL really is. And so is he going to be ready? Sat out 2 preseason games. One yesterday as we record on Sunday here, one yesterday and a couple of days ago on Thursday. And yes, against university players. And so 50-point blowouts, you don't really see much. It's a good chance for them to get through to go through their systems. But is Mike Mulder going to be ready, for the physicality and for the speed of the CEBL? I mean, so hasn't played since 2024, kind of a lingering groin injury at the moment, should be ready for the first game in a couple of days. But is he going to be ready for the physicality and the speed of the CEBL? We're going to find out.
There's an adjustment period for everybody. Just because you played in the NBA doesn't mean this is going to be a smooth transition. It's a different game.
Yeah.
It's the FIBA
totally,
game.
absolutely.
There's target score. It's a different mentality. So, for Michael Mulder, he's going to play well for sure. But sometimes I feel bad for some of these guys that come in with a resume that precedes them, because you're expecting this, oh, here comes our new star. But it's going to take some time, I think, for him to settle in. And who knows, maybe he feels at home, finds his role right away. But you're joining a new team, and that goes for anybody in this league. When you're joining a new team, you got to find that role, establish it. So I'm looking forward to it, though. I think it's going to be an intriguing storyline heading in.
And honestly, they're probably gonna need him. And it's not to knock where they're at and what the roster looks like right now. It's just not the same as it was to start the year last year. I mean, there are still some guys, as I mentioned, that are going to show up, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. So they're going to need him for the first few games to have some success. So I'll be interested to see how Mike Mulder, I'll be interested to see how he starts the CEBL season and then where this team can go with him. Tyrese Samuel back, the first signing for the Vancouver Bandits in the offseason. I think that was sort of the one that they needed the first pillar that they needed to snag during the offseason. And look, like I saw Tyrese a couple of days ago. The guy has put on muscle, if you can believe it or not. Like, the guy has put on muscle. He's more cut than he was last summer. And yeah, I mean that's what you get when you spend a full season with the G League, right? There,
Yeah.
that's what's going to come naturally. If you have the work ethic, it's going to come naturally. And he looks better, he looks faster, he looks stronger, and he's going to take on that leadership role without Mitch Creek. And whether Mitch comes back or not, I kind of have a sneaky feeling Mitch is going to be back at some point this summer. Don't quote me on it, but I do think, look, he and Kyle Julius have such a great relationship. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Mitch does report back at some point. But in the meantime, that next step for Tyrese is to take on that leadership role, whether it's vocally, whether it's leading by example. And I think that's what Kyle Julius is hoping for out of Tyrese Samuel.
Yeah, and I think, he was such a problem last year, most outstanding Canadian player in the CEBL last year, and was in the running for
Yeah,
MVP.
sure.
Like, this is a guy
You could
that
argue that, yeah.
had the Canadian in the bag, in my opinion. I don't know, there was some good competition for the MVP, but he definitely made himself a big part of that conversation. But this is the natural progression for him now, right? You're now in your second year. You had a great season. Sometimes, being naive is bliss, a little bit, not knowing what to expect. You come in, things are going well. I think the key for a guy like Tyrese Samuel is not worrying about what you accomplished last year and approaching this one with a fresh slate. You're not trying to defend your most outstanding Canadian. There's going to be criticism that comes in if you don't perform quite as well as you did last year. There's more tape on you this year. So even though you're coming in stronger, teams know that they have to defend around you. They have experience trying to do it last year, and the adjustments are going to be made, right? And there's new players coming into the league as well that it's hard to gauge where you're going to set up. But that was obvious to me, the obvious signing. And to me, it is really that first step of, speaking of Mitch Creek, passing of the torch, so to speak.
Sure.
He is the guy that is going to be the star of this team for as long as he wants to be, barring anything else in terms of, NBA opportunities or, injuries or something like that might derail it. But this is a really good young player, really good young Canadian player, exciting. I had fun watching him last year. I had fun getting to know him a little bit through the, my sideline work and play-by-play work. But here's, a guy that I'm excited to see what he can do this year, moving up from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him last week, Bandits Media Day, and I was like, "Look, like, how was your G League experience? And what was it like to not only play in the G League, but to play in the G League on your home soil? Don't forget, he was traded from the Valley Suns to Raptors 905 halfway through the G League season. Raptors 905, I think, weren't they like 16-0 to start the year or something crazy?
Yeah,
like
they
that?
were on a tear. Yeah.
So he wasn't joining, a slouch of a team, and and he had all the typical answers like, it was so great to be in Canada, it was so great to have family close, it was so great to to represent my country on home soil in the G League. But then he goes, but honestly, my favorite part about being in the G League in Canada was being able to walk across the street and grab a pre-game French vanilla from Tim Hortons.
That's so Canadian. I love it.
Yeah, I know. And also, I'm not a French vanilla, really. Like, are you a French vanilla guy? Do you like French vanillas?
Okay, French vanilla for me was when I was in high school. Or
Yeah, exactly.
Below. It was like my first caffeinated drink.
When you weren't into coffee yet.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like grade 7. It was like either at the time it was English toffee cappuccino or a French vanilla, and we just say English toffee or French vanilla. And I loved them as a kid. I drink black coffee now, Chris. I don't do the sweet stuff.
Really?
Every now and again, I might get the seasonal drinks. I'll say that I got to get one pumpkin spice thing in the fall, and I'm not like a diehard, but that to me is like your rite of passage into the fall, or maybe a peppermint drink for Christmas, or a white hot chocolate, which isn't caffeinated. But I'm a black coffee guy, so good on him. Maybe the added sugar probably helps with the carbs to get him ready for a game.
Yeah, it does. The Bandits do so well with bringing in Canadian university guys, and not only that, bringing in Canadian university guys that are homegrown, whether they play, whether they're from the Fraser Valley or whether they're from the Lower Mainland and play at one of the universities around here, or they are from here and play at other universities across Canada. They did their the first ever Bandits University Combine, which was so cool. 2-day thing, and they had all guys from Lower Mainland, from British Columbia, from Okanagan, Vancouver Island, Fraser Valley, whatever, that play at different schools across the country. A couple play in Manitoba, a couple play at Brandon. So it was cool to meet those guys, and a couple guys actually landed a roster spot. One of them being Shaden Smid from the University of Victoria. Player. Yeah, and I really think that's going to be one of those success story, Canadian university success stories this summer in the CEBL.
I can totally see that. I can
Yeah,
totally see that.
Mason Krause in Winnipeg, like
Yeah,
he's going to be one of those success stories as well. And you saw it already. I mean, the first game this season, not one with a a step back three from a G leaguer, not one from a ridiculous circus shot from Teddy Allen. It's one at the free throw line from Mason Krause.
100%. I'll say two things on this. I was talking to a U Sports coach just a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about this combine. And what this coach said was, he thinks it's a great idea for the Bandits. And, he was, saying not that he thinks that it's going to create, a pipeline of U Sports guys that are going to play for the Bandits, but it exposes a whole, every year, new generation to what pro basketball is and what to prepare for. You are going to find those diamonds in the rough, maybe, like Shaden Smith.
Yeah.
But the other thing is just the impressions that Vancouver gets out of this, like in terms of like social media and reach. Like every university that was represented put something out about it, about their players being there and stuff like that. It's great for visibility. And in this case with Shaden Smith, kind of shocked he's never been drafted before this, to be totally honest. And I'm always shocked that he's not a senior. And I'm probably said this.
He's got another year. He's got another year left. I didn't realize.
And I've been saying this since like second year.
Yeah.
So my other job is, I do color commentary for the University of Winnipeg Westman, and I also fill in on certain things for the University of Manitoba out in Winnipeg. So I remember doing the sidelines for the Canada West. They had a tournament style championship a couple of years ago. I think that would have been his second year, where UVic won, and that guy. Here's the thing. Mason Krause played last year, didn't really do much, right? This year, he's a little more confident in his second year. Simon Hildebrandt blew up on the scene when he came in from the University of Manitoba, but plays a totally different style, which has evolved since. But the thing with Smid, I think, like, again, not to pump the brakes a little bit more for him and the expectations, is he might be that thing, but that player that, bursts onto the scene and be the best story. But now he's playing with men. This guy plays a very physical style. He can throw down the flashy dunks. He's a dog. Like he's in your ear all game. He gets under people's skin, right? He's a guy that knows how to win. He's been part of a winning program, one of the best programs in the country at UVic, a core part of that. And UVic's lost some key guys over the years to NCAA, and he's the guy that sticks back. He's a veteran that has gone through the system, gone through two coaches there. He is built to succeed here, but I don't think it's a disappointment if he doesn't, to the extent that some might expect.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, he's been around Diego Mafia. He's been around Sam Maillet that have come through the Bandits organization, won a championship at UVic. So again, another championship pedigree style player. I think he's ready for this, for this level. There are always a couple of Canadian university guys that add add to the success of CEBL teams. And
Aaron Roos, right?
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Tay Donald. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see how Shaden, adjusts to the CEBL. And then, what's so great about bringing these Canadian university guys on that still have, years left, they're going to be so much better when they go back to their programs, in September, right?
Well,
and so it's great for both. It's great for both the CEBL, to showcase these Canadian university players, and it's so great for their programs to have these guys put in reps with pro players and men, like you say, before heading back to their, respective schools.
It's the world's coolest internship.
Yes.
Right. Like that's what it is. Like you go play in the
Yes.
CEBL, you get to learn how the pros treat themselves. You see what you're getting from your universities that you're not going to get when you move forward, and how much you have to take on yourself, and what you could do. And you'll see this. Like there's like a new kind of like a pro filter that comes on these guys when they go back to school. They carry themselves a little differently, and not in like an arrogant way, but they understand, like, the earlier I get ahead on this, the better it's going to help me out in my pro career. But on the other side of it too, you'll ask any of those players, the game slows down at the U Sports level, but the pressure goes up because now you're the CEBL guy, right? And it
Yeah,
happened a little bit
okay.
with Simon
Okay.
Hildebrand from year
Yeah,
one to
sure.
year two.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an adjustment, right? And you're used to playing in front of, you know, thousands of fans, to going down to back to your local gyms, smaller communities and things like that. But it's 100% a benefit, because even if it doesn't go as planned in year, you know, in his senior year, let's say, it's also a new adversity under a smaller microscope. So if you don't have as good of a year at UVic, it's better than not having a good year, second year with Vancouver, right? When you're on national TV and things like that. So I love the program. I love the affiliation. I could have a whole podcast episode about how much I love university sports in Canada. I'm a huge supporter of it, and I think this partnership
it should be from you. It should be from you. You should do that full episode, because you are the honestly, man, you and you and Andrew Savory could be another name where you guys could just talk shop with Canadian university basketball for hours. So I'd tune in. I'm curious. One more thing on Shaden Smid. I think an NBA comparison would be someone like Zach LaVine. Shooter, explosive, leaper, kind of has that lanky style. I think you're on mute there, my friend.
I'd almost say he's stronger.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, in terms of, like, you look at, like, not comparing him to now, but I think at that stage of their career, like, you look at early the Zach LaVine, he was a little lanky before he started putting on the muscle. Like, I think he might actually be an even stronger version of it, at least at the level that he's at now. But I've talked to his coaches on his staff, like at UVic. They love this guy, right? Like, he's a culture driver. So I think he's going to fit right in, especially when you just mentioned, the Diego Mafias, Sam Mayes that have played with Kyle Julius. Like, I think there's a pipeline there. There's a greatness to the UVic Vikes program that I think bodes well for Vancouver as they're building their own culture right now. Still relatively early when you think about it. It feels like a long time, but it's only been 3-4 years that they've been under Kyle Julius, where they're really building towards something. And I think that affiliation with UVic goes a long way.
Duane Notice is going to be joining us on the inaugural episode of Target Score Vancouver. He's going to be our first guest, so that's coming up a little bit later. Do you want to get into some of the CEBL changes that we're going to see this season? Just with playoff format, and they're calling it CEBL 2.0. No more Mike Morreale. We've got some personnel changes. Do you want to get into that now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't think we have to spend too much time on it, but it's a different era for sure, right? And we've seen it float around on 2.0, or the 2.0 term of CBL 2.0. It's an exciting time, right? It's a big change in a lot of ways. Mike Morreale, to his credit, I think he's getting a well-deserved break right now. He lived and breathed the CEBL and was the face of it for 8 years or 7 years, and did a wonderful job. The league's in a great state where it is right now with this new leadership because of the work that
completely agree
and the people before it put in. It's a great product to pick up and move forward with. And it'll be interesting now. You're going back to CBC, kind of going back to the roots in some ways, right? With the CBC deal, which is awesome. It's more accessible. I love that. I think there's going to be more fans that are going to have more access to it. First game, I already got 3 videos sent to me in DMs of like, oh, I'm watching the game, and they didn't watch it before, simply because it was on CBC, something that either they have on their cable packages or they've saw on YouTube.
CBC
so I think
Gem, I'm pretty sure
CBC Gem too.
Sure that's a free service, isn't it? You don't have to subscribe for CBC Gem. I think you can just
100%.
Yeah, totally.
It's all free. So that's the thing. It's all free now, right? Which is huge. I think it takes away a huge barrier for the fan base. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be wait and see what the changes are. We've already seen there's a lot of innovation with some of the teams across the league and what the league is doing with partnerships and things like that. Mark Cuban joining in on the ownership with Brampton, right?
Totally.
I don't know how much that pays off for butts and seats, but it's big money and a big name in basketball that believes in the product. I think it validates where the league is now and where it can go. So it's an exciting time. I'm really excited about this. Change is always a little bit rough, and it's a quick turnaround from last year to this year, with Morreale stepping down and things, kind of passing of the torch and getting organized in this new way and getting all these deals done. But the league's in great shape, man. I'm excited.
Are we going to see a Mark Cuban? Are we going to see a Mark Cuban appearance courtside in Brampton a couple of times?
100%. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, and it'll be good. I remember I went to a preseason game in Cleveland one time against the Mavs, and he was sitting like a few rows down from me, and I was like super stoked about that. So I think there will be a little bit of buzz.
I've always liked him.
I've
always liked him, and I'm a big fan of Shark Tank and what is it, Dragon's Den in Canada? Yeah.
The original. Yeah, Dragon's Den's the original.
Yes. Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
It was before
big time,
Shark Tank. Okay. And
Rip
even
off.
even the play, yeah, even the playoff format. I mean, I
Playoff
think,
format's huge.
oh man, I think that the finals, the best of three finals, yeah,
RIP
there
championship
are, yeah,
weekend.
that's don't lose that shirt. That's
I only wear it
y-
for special occasions.
yeah,
This
there you
is a
go.
special occasion. That's why I'm
Yeah,
wearing it.
that's good. You should frame that shirt sometime.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably.
yeah, no, the best of three in the finals is a no brainer if you ask me. You could argue. I wish that I could. You could argue that they should have done it sooner. Um, but here we are, and championship weekend was so fun. We had one in Vancouver. You've had one in Winnipeg. It was a fantastic weekend with concerts and events and just a buzz around the city. So we'll miss championship weekend. There are some parts of championship weekend we'll miss, but having the best of three in the finals and getting home court advantage and flying back and forth between the two cities is the way to go, in my opinion. And I think we're going to see that this year. You're going to see why.
I think it develops storylines better from
Yes.
game to game.
Yeah.
I like that the home fan base gets to see their team in the finals at least one game. I don't think championship weekend was a failure by any stretch. I think it
No.
was good for the time,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be shocked if it comes back. The one I would like to explore is making the conference final a little bit bigger. We're kind of like the CFL. If you host that final game, that and winning the conference is a big coup, right? Like there's the t-shirts, the hats, whatever, and then make one championship weekend game as opposed to like the final four. I thought it was just like a little too much. And if your host team lost, as they mostly did, it was kind of like okay, I guess I'll go to the championship game, right? But I think where we are right now, this is perfect. I don't know if, I think it's one of those things worth revisiting later on, but I think right now this is perfect for you and I, Chris, as guys that, call these games, whether it's play-by-play or sidelines. It's going to do wonders for us to really, kind of bring those storylines and make the series more intriguing for the casual fan.
Do you think an all-star game or weekend
Yes.
could replace championship weekend? Do you think
I
that's
think
the
that's
way? Yeah.
the natural progression
Yeah.
to championship weekend and the
Yeah.
momentum built there. And it's a great way to test markets. CEBL wants to be in Quebec City. They want to be in the
Yeah.
Maritimes.
Yeah.
This is a league that wants to be
Totally.
coast to coast.
Yeah.
And if there were ever a need for relocation or things like that, I think the All-Star game, and we saw one, a few years ago, Quebec City had one at the Videotron Center, and it was like something like, I don't know, 10,000 people in there watching a bunch of players they didn't know for a team they don't have. Like there's a support. Quebec is a huge pipeline for basketball, for instance, right? So if you can make that happen, national TV, Montreal tested the outdoor game last year, which was awesome until it rained. But there's things that are happening, I think, that are,
Yeah.
are bringing the game to other markets, and an all-star game is the best way to do it. You can showcase the best of the best. I just don't know when you do it because the season's so short. A lot of guys are gone. That's why they've moved the season to an earlier start this year, is to try to avoid guys having to leave in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting, but I do think that is something that would be of interest to the league.
Do you like the earlier start?
I don't know. I think I got to see the full season play out. I think it was a little weird, like for my own planning purposes, selfishly, it kind of caught me off guard, even though I knew it was coming. You just, my CEBL clock is, 3 weeks ahead. It feels like, I'm okay with it if we're having the best players in the playoffs. I mean, Winnipeg has been a victim of that, losing key guys going into the playoffs or in the playoffs because they had to go overseas. Vancouver's had it, right? So I think if you can keep players playing at the time that it's supposed to be the best basketball, it's a huge win. But these are things that, I think is kind of trial and error. Let's see what's working. Let's stick with it this season and visit the drawing board when it's all said and done to see what works and what doesn't. But it's a little odd, like, in Winnipeg, because they were the first game on the Saturday, the 9th. They started training camp April 30th. Because you have a 10-day window before your first game
snow on the
to
ground
open
in
your training camp. It snowed multiple days, like going to camp, which is not something I'm used to either, right? Like it's those subtle differences of like those 2 weeks. So it was a little strange, but I think it is the right move for right now until we find something better.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I would rather have guys come late because the league started earlier than years past, than lose guys before playoffs or like before a semifinal. Like we lost Corey, for example, Vancouver losing Corey Davis Jr. last year. I think that Calgary Western semifinal would have looked a lot different if Corey Davis Jr. was still around. But we're gonna find out how it looks this summer. So Do you want to go to? Should we go to Duane Notice now? Is that
Oh, I think
normally?
so. Yeah,
Yeah, let's
yeah.
go to
But
Duane Notice.
let's keep the people. They've heard us talk enough, Chris. They want to hear from
Okay.
the man himself.
Okay, let's do it. All right. The Cinephile of Vancouver. You can find him on Scene DMs as his movie podcast with Mikhail McIntosh. He had to be the inaugural guest. Let's get to our chat with Duane Notice. Joining us now, our inaugural guest for the Target Score Vancouver podcast. We had to go with Duno, the podcasting extraordinaire, Scene DMs. This guy's an actor. He does everything. Thanks for joining us, man. Welcome.
No, thank you for having me. I'm very excited. It's going to be a fun episode.
All right, welcome back to CEBL. Welcome back to Vancouver for another year. How you feeling heading into the season?
Feeling really good. It's a little bit unusual this time because some of our core players or players that we had last year are still playing in their season overseas, so they're not here yet. So I'm kind of taking on that real vet leadership role of trying to just be an extension of Coach Kyle Julius and get the new guys acclimated to the system, to the concepts. And it's a beautiful challenge, but it's definitely a challenge. And I think that we're very excited about this season. We're motivated for what happened last year. And I think they say third time's a charm, but for us, maybe fourth time's a charm.
Don't worry, we'll get into the Calgary stuff. That's for sure. We'll get into that stuff. I was speaking to Kyle Julius a couple of days ago, and without Mitch Creek, and whether Mitch comes or not, without Mitch this summer, it sounds like you and Tyrese are going to take on that leadership role. And how do you see that playing out for you guys?
I think it's been something that we've been asked upon, and it's just like a natural thing as well. But for us, without Mitch Creek being there, he does so much on and off the court. Just his presence alone, I think, just provides so much confidence for players. But the way he's able to speak to the younger guys, to the older guys, he has experience from around the world. So for us, we got to try and do the same thing and utilize our basketball experience. Tyrese and I both played in the NBA G League, played overseas, et cetera, et cetera. So just kind of letting the younger guys know things will be okay. And like I said, being an extension of Coach Kyle Julius, he has certain concepts and he has a certain package he likes to play. So this summer, it's just like being more vocal. For me, I like to lead by example. Usually I'm always like the first in the gym or last to leave the gym, and I try to get extra reps or try to like showcase myself in that way. But I think this summer I'm going to take on the challenge of being a little bit more vocal, and Tyrese is doing the same. So that means in huddles, just being able to chime in and see what we see on the court and comment on it, whether it's in timeouts, whether it's in practice, whether it's calling our own huddles and just doing stuff like that. So that's a different way we could be more vocal and be more of a leader. But then also, I think just doing more stuff off the court, having, lake days or having days where we all go eat as a team and kind of decompress from the game of basketball.
What would it mean to have Mitch Creek back? What is it that he brings to this team? Because clearly there was an elevation when Creek joined the Bandits originally, but what is it that he brings to the table that makes him so special? And what would it mean to have him back this year?
It'll mean the world to have him back. I think he's one of those all-world people that are just great personalities, great characters, and just a great man, just not just a great basketball player. But in terms of basketball, I think there's nothing he can't do. Like, his skill set is so vast. I think he has a plethora of, signature styles and moves. It's crazy. I think he's ambidextrous. I always tell him all the time, I see him use his right hand in the paint way more than I see him use his dominant left hand. And his footwork, obviously he's older, so he's not as athletic as he used to be, but the way his IQ is and the way he sees and thinks the game, I think is something that rubs off on all of us. And every time I line up against him, I'm like, man, this is a guy I go to war for, because this is a guy that would run through a brick wall for you. I think he's one of the hardest workers I've been around, and he doesn't have to be. He's probably the most paid and has the most bread out of all of us, and has all the the celebrity friends in the world, but he still shows up to work every day, works hard, outworks you. He's a positive guy too. Like, I know a lot of guys who are super talented and they could be like just not good people, and I think that he's a great person, so it makes it better coming into work. But yeah, 3-level scorer, could bring the ball up, he could positionless basketball, could play 1 through 5, literally could guard 1 through 5. And he's such an advantage to have, because I can switch on ball screens with him. We have a great chemistry. So him setting step ups and getting into the post, that short roll where he dominates. And like I said, he's so efficient, he's dominant. And I think he just elevates our team and our culture overall.
It's interesting because that's one of the challenges with the CEBL. Like, guys coming late, we're not really sure when they're going to show up. It all has to work out with timing and their schedules. Maybe they're overseas. Maybe they're, doing other things in the summertime. And it feels like this summer is starting already a little bit different than last summer. A lot of our main roster guys were here early last summer. So it might be a little bit of a challenging start for you guys, just with, I think Kyle said something like there's 4 or 5 guys that may or may not be signed that they're hoping will show up in a few weeks. So, you guys have maybe a tough start ahead of you. How do you see the season starting with not a full roster that maybe Kyle is expecting yet?
Honestly, I kind of like that. Obviously, we having reinforcements and having the guys is great, but I think that this is an opportunity for a lot of players. Like, be a star in your own role, next up, next man up mentality. I think so. Just having the reinforcements not coming just means that it's more live reps for the younger players, the youth sport players, the players that probably weren't going to get a lot of playing time, that weren't signed on contract. Now they get an opportunity to showcase themselves. So I think there's nothing better as a basketball player being able to compete and showcase who you are and what your skill set is. But I know it's going to be a challenge, especially with our first game being on the road, but understanding that it's a beautiful journey, like knowing that the CEBL is a couple months and it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. So for us, if we're able to just learn in those moments, even if we're not getting as many wins as we'd like to, as long as we're learning from every moment and getting better each and every single day, whether it's through film session, through practice, I think that's the more imperative thing of building great habits, because that's really going to ring true in August when it really matters.
You keep saying beautiful journey. And I remember last year, Duane, you and I had chatted before the playoff game, I believe it was in Vancouver. But your journey, you keep coming back to Vancouver. I mean, there's clearly something special here. You are a veteran in this league, but when you look at the adversity you've gone through yourself, right, and getting through the injuries and things like that, how do you view a new season, right? You're coming off a championship in the BSL. You're kind of restarting here, probably on a high. But do you reflect on these a little bit more at this stage of your career? Like, what does it mean coming into camp at this stage?
It's crazy. This is the first year I kind of like sat down and tried to live in the moment, and it's mainly because of everyone calling me Unc and OG and Vet, and really making me appreciate that. Like, yeah, we did just win a championship in the BSL, or went back to back, but usually I'm so goal focused and ambitious that I'm on to the next thing. So even when we won the championship in the BSL, I was already thinking about how can I help the guys at training camp in Vancouver. So it's tough as a basketball player when you're still in it. It's hard to stay in the moment. But when you have great people around you that remind you of like what you've been doing, I think it always helps a lot. So for me, I just take it a step at a time, possession at a time, day at a time, and I think when I retire, when I'm done, I'll be able to look back on it. But right now, I'm like still full-fledged caught up in it. And you mentioned the adversity. To me, I think adversity is a privilege. So every time I'm able to experience it, I know that I'm gonna come on the other side better for it. But after experiencing that injury, having a year and a half taken away from me of basketball, for me, like everyone's always like, yo, why don't you take a break? I'm like, I can't. When basketball was literally taken away from me and people told me I wasn't going to play no more, it wouldn't be the same. Like, that's the motivation for why I go back-to-back seasons and, Sudbury, Vancouver, or if I want to go overseas, whatever. Because right now I feel like if the ball is still bouncing, then I'm going to still be able to, play. And if I still have that passion, I'm going to still want to play. So for me, I'm still living in the moment, but I'm definitely starting to, feel the flowers and understand like the benefits of the hard work.
Is that a moment, when you're going through the injury and the rehab, is that where the reality sets in that, this is finite? I feel like when you get in, you play basketball your whole life through high school, in college, and now you're playing pro. And I'm just curious, is there a runway that you realize there when you're playing, or did it really come to fruition, to realize like this is eventually going to end when you thought it might at that point?
Unfortunately for me, it was the injury. I think growing up, I've been fortunate to have like a lot of big bros like Tristan, Thompson, Corey Joseph, guys like that kind of made it to the league at a young age. But nobody really experienced something crazy like that. So like it was hard to get that type of advice from somebody who made it to that stage from Canada. Kevin Pangos, certain guys that I looked up to and played with that could give me advice when it comes to like basketball's finite. As a kid, of course, they tell you all the time, have a plan B. But I grew up in a family where, my dad was like, no, plan A is your plan B, because if you plan B, that means you're planning to fail. So for me, I always loved, competing and pursuing basketball. I never, you go to school, they say get your degree because you never know what could happen. Again, as a kid, you're hearing this, but it's going through one year, coming out the other. So to be honest, when I officially, got hurt, ruptured my Achilles and tore my gastric, that was the first time I had like a major basketball injury and had to be taken away from the sport. And I think that's when I realized like, oh no, like there's more to life than just basketball. Basketball is my complete identity. And that's when I started, the movie stuff and the podcasting and figuring out who I was as a person outside of the game of basketball. So now when I speak to kids and I try to inspire the youth or talk to them, I really do try to tell them about like taking care of your body, taking care of yourself, and then also understanding that you could put yourself into other buckets or use basketball. Don't let basketball use you. Allow yourself to make connections, to network, and to find out what your other passions are. Because as basketball players growing up, all we did was play basketball, right? Well, I can speak for myself, but you play other sports and stuff, play video games here and there, watch movies. But for me, it was basketball. So it was hard for me to really be a kid And I think when you're just always training, or you have a personal trainer, you're playing AAU and you're playing 5 games a day and you're traveling, you're doing all these things, it's just like, it's really hard to experience life. So like I said, once basketball was taken away from me, I was like, wow, I have so much free time. Like, who am I? What do I like to do? So that's my advice for everybody going forward, is like, yeah, basketball is definitely finite, and don't wait till an injury happens or occurs until you figure out who you are.
Getting back to your squad this summer, getting back to the roster, I was talking to Michael Mulder a couple of days ago. He mentioned you guys had some high school battles. I know you guys are, familiar with each other. Tyrese, you guys, are familiar with each other from last year. What do you like about the group to start the season so far?
Great character guys. I mean, I think it's a testament to the Bandits organization. They do a great job of getting players that are obviously capable, but they're also very good people to be around. It makes it fun to show up to work. But, playing with Mike back in the day just brings up so many memories. High school, traveling to Windsor from St. Mike's. We used to, beat them all the time.
He said that. He said that. Yeah. He said there was a big tournament in Windsor, and you guys came in and stopped them.
The backcourt of me and Malcolm DeVivier, who's also a former Bandits player, but
yes.
We used to go crazy.
Yeah.
And then I think Mike and I also played together around. Oh, well, no. See, he got his get back in university because he played for Kentucky. And they definitely.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it was a close game there. But I think we had an opportunity to play with each other in training camp for the G League select team when Coach Jama, who's on the Raptors bench now, who was my 9-to-5 coach at the time, was the head coach of a G League select team where we went to like somewhere overseas in Europe to compete. And Mike was in training camp with us. And then I remember on the 3rd day, I walked into the gym and he was gone. I was like, where'd he go? And he got like a deal with like the Heat, I think, or something like that. He got a deal with the team. That started like his NBA journey. So I haven't seen him since then. So it's been awesome seeing him here, seeing him work. I think he brings so much to the team, man. He's a great shooter. He's obviously smart. Knows how to play. He can handle the ball. He's been around some of the best basketball players ever. So it's been interesting to be in the locker room with him and get his stories and hear his side of things when it comes to how he was playing with the Golden State Warriors. And then, yeah, Tyrese is a beast, man. Like, it's crazy because seeing him last year, I was like, a couple of years ago, I thought Nick Ward was one of the best big men I've ever played with, and he still is. But I mean, Tyrese, like, his potential is crazy. Just how young he is, his skill set that he has, and he's still building it. And I think he's such a dominant figure on our team that it makes it easier. I'm just happy he's on our side. Like, I would hate to go up against a guy like Tyrese, the way he rim protects, the way he runs the floor, the way he dominates in the paint, and is able to get to either shoulder and make, his defender be his mincemeat.
What about Miller Kopp? Because this guy strikes me as a little bit of a babyface assassin. Like, I can't really get a read off him yet. And, he's filling the shoes of Kyle Mangus. The Bandits have brought in lots of great shooters over the years, and clearly he's going to fill that role this summer, but feels like a little bit longer than Mangus. Like, what do you like about Miller's game?
Man, Miller is he's a great guy. Honestly, he's from Texas, and he won't let me forget it. I was playing some music. I was playing some Sauce Walker in the locker room the other day, and he was like singing it word for word. I was like, what? Like, how do you? So he's the guy that has that sauce. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but he definitely has that aura, that swag, and I love the way he plays because he plays so unapologetic, and he's so smart too. Like, I love playing with smart players that aren't robotic. Yeah, we're running this type of set, but it's a game of basketball. Like, make a read. And I think we have a great synergy already, even though we've only had like 3 practices and I just met him a couple days ago. But I think he's a very smart player, a hard worker. Like, I love the way he stays after practice, gets his shots up, and he's a great shooter, man. Like, there's a couple shots he took in the game yesterday where he stepped in from half court and shot from the logo, and I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. So, like you said, every year we have players like Mangus or Zach Copeland who could let that ball fly, and I'm very excited to see how he plays. And he's a big body too. I think he's a little bit bigger than Mangus in the sense where he gets rebounds, is able to get offensive rebounds, put it back in. He's able to post up a lot, like kind of like a Mitch Creek. So I'm excited to see how he plays. He's a solid defender as well. And he's very, very, very talkative. So I'm excited to learn from him as well because I know he's played at a high level too. So it's been great. He's been a good teammate. And again, I'm excited to see how much assist he can get me because I love passing the ball. So hopefully he can make that shot when I pass it.
And before we turn over to, how last season ended and, going into this season and how you're carrying it, I'm just curious about Kyle Julius. This is a team that, has kind of established itself with, even though, might not be there, the championship, but there's that championship pedigree. It's Vancouver kind of has turned into that team usually at the start of the season that, that's the team to beat in the West. And it really started when Kyle Julius took over. And when you look at the rosters across the CEBL, a lot of them have high turnover. Vancouver tends to bring back the same core guys. And when they find their guy, like a Tyrese Samuel, that becomes part of the core. What is it about Kyle Julius that gets the buy-in from his rosters and his teams? I mean, he seems like an intense guy, but you're seeing him on a day-to-day basis. Why has he been able to help this program get to that next level, to the point where you're knocking on the door of a championship?
I think it's a credit to his passion, like his unrelentless preparation for basketball. I think is something that rubs off on people. I think he's definitely has a misconception and a misunderstanding. My biggest I think thrill as a player is when I'm playing against players. For example, Kobe McEwen, one of my good friends from Toronto, tried to poach him, get him to Vancouver, and one of his things was like, yeah, I want to go, but like I heard Kyle's this and that and the third. So I always love hearing these stories about how people perceive Kyle from the outside looking in, and then when they come here, they're like, oh, like this is not the case at all. Everyone was tripping. This is not how he is. And I just think that intensity is something that, like, you love, because when someone's going that hard for you and they support you and it's unconditional and it's genuine, I think that as a player, you really feast off that and feed off of it. And he's a great guy that just empowers you. Like every day he's telling me, yo, shoot the ball more. Like, I don't know why you're being so selfless. Like, I want you to be more aggressive. And when you're a guard or when you're a player that plays for a coach that doesn't give you any restrictions, gives you the green light because he knows you're working on your game, I think as a player, you love that. And when you see a guy, diving into the laundry bin at a change room, or he's putting together practice plans, or he's telling people that he hasn't been home. He looks like he sleeps in his office. Like I don't know.
I've seen his office. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a snooze in there.
And I know about his wife and his kids because we're basically family, so I feel it for them too. Like how much the game just takes Kyle away from them. So again, when you're a player and you sit and talk with him or see how much he understands and loves basketball, I think you can't help but to go hard for him. So I think he's one of those great coaches that also provides a lot of resources for you. Like we have the wellness den here, we have different supplement things that happen here. He likes to take care of his guys. So I think if you play hard for him, you're gonna have a friend for life, and I think that's what people need to understand. When you come over here and you BS and you take shortcuts, or you don't appreciate, or you're ungrateful, that's where you're not gonna have a great relationship with him. But when you're over here working hard, he doesn't care if you make or miss shots. It's basketball. If you turn it over, it doesn't matter. And he doesn't yell every day, due to contrary belief. He's not like just screaming in everyone's face. If someone makes a mistake that we drill over and over, he'll let you know about it. He'll hold people accountable. And that's what you want as a player, as a person in general. You don't want to live life not being held accountable if you're not doing something that you're supposed to be doing. So, I play for guys like Frank Martin. I play for coaches like Roy Rana back in the day, who was pretty intense. So I'm used to it. I love it. And I think that, if you're cut from a certain cloth or a certain caliber of player, then you're going to, thrive playing under the helm of Kyle Julius.
Couple more before target time. We all know about the Calgary finish, Western semifinal last year. And speaking of Kyle's intensity, I was talking to him again a couple of days ago in the locker room. He was sitting down all casual, going over the game plan. And as soon as I brought up the Calgary game, he was on his feet. He got up off of out of his chair and was in my face, and he was very intense about reminiscing about that game. The first CBC game for Vancouver is a rematch against the Calgary Surge, and so it's going to be on national television like it was a year ago. That game's still lingering for all of you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that definitely is. It was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
For us, it just hurts. Like, you guys know, just being in the summer as a basketball player, of course, if you're in the NBA, you're making multiple millions of dollars, so you can kind of chill. But for most of us who love playing basketball, want to continue making money, we play in the summer leagues, and that's us missing time from family, missing time from friends, missing time from events. Like, I've missed so many weddings, or so many different things, life milestones that are happening because we're just working hard and trying to get a championship. So for us, it was just a hard pill to swallow. Like, just understand that we sacrificed all so much, and then to have the game be put into the hands of someone else, like, it was out of our control. But for us, I think we're highly motivated. We understand it's basketball. And then the biggest takeaway I have from it is, next time we got to make sure we ensure and do everything we're supposed to be doing, that it doesn't even get to that point. Because to be honest, I think we had the game and then it went back and forth a little bit. But if we were able to create some separation or break the game open, I think that we wouldn't have, gotten to that point. So for us going forward, we now understand the importance of every possession. And when you go on a run, of how to try and break a team and make sure they don't linger around. If you're up by 10, get it to 15, get it to 20. You know what I'm saying? Don't let it linger around 5-point game and let it be a close game, because anything could happen in target time. And you mentioned Kyle's intensity, and I feel like a couple weeks after that loss, he was already messaging me like, yo, what's going on next season? Who we looking at? If you come across any players that you think will fit the culture, like whatever come through. So a guy, and I was like, man, it's like November. I was even
give me a
worried
couple
about,
of months.
yeah, I wasn't
Yeah,
worried
yeah.
about the CBL yet, but I love that. I love that preparation. I love him thinking about what's
Yeah.
next in the future, and like you said, it's going to be a great game. I think it's great for the league though to have like certain rivalries. I know
Totally.
us in Calgary have one. I know there's some other rivalries out there, so I think it just builds for better basketball. But I'm excited at a chance for a rematch, and I think, like I said, going forward, we just want to try and control what we can control.
Yeah, you're probably out there thinking, all right, I know you're enjoying some nice weather out in Vancouver. I'm freezing my butt off here in Sudbury trying to focus on my winter season here, Kyle. But, going back to that game, I was there. I was fortunate enough to be doing the sidelines for that game. And I'll admit it was it was the most hostile environment. I think I've been there. I tell this story all the time. Actually, I still have. Where is it here? I grabbed this because they were giving away these CEBL balls, and they were being hucked at myself and Jameer Nelson Jr. in the post-game interview, right? Among other things. People were upset, but the after the game too, right? I remember, waking up the next morning, tuning into Global and, seeing the coverage on there. And I mean, it was palpable how upset, pissed people were, from you guys to fans to the sportscasters. I mean, it was a big deal, right? And it caused, the league came out. I remember the commissioner at the time, Mike Morielli, came on our show, trying to explain what happened. People were confused. Number of issues there, but one of the big downfalls were, I believe yourself were one of them, Mitch saying, we're never playing again in this league because in the moment the emotions are so high. What were those conversations like kind of since then, right? As emotions come down, you're able to kind of reflect. You've touched on it a little bit about, the possessions and things like that. But how difficult was it in that moment and those weeks following to really digest that? And how do you come back to the idea of playing here again?
Yeah, it was tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflection. As a player, especially, playing basketball for a long time, I played at NCAA, I played overseas, played with Team Canada, etc. And it's like I've never wanted to be that guy that was like, we lost because of so and so, we lost because of the refs, we lost because of this, we lost because of that. And for the first time in my life, I really felt like we did everything we could do in our control, and the basketball gods just weren't in our favor. So that was a tough one. But again, just I don't know. I think basketball puts life into perspective sometimes. And after having some time to decompress, I was able to realize that, everything happens for a reason and we're only going to get stronger because of it. In the moment, it was very, difficult to deal with. And I think that's why a lot of people express their emotions the way they did. And I think it's fair. It's like going through a bad breakup. You might say something you don't mean at the moment and come back and think about it. But I think, again, I know I can't speak for Mitch, but for myself, maybe at the time I didn't, I felt like I was done with the league, but I know that this is like the premier league, especially in Canada, showcasing Canadian talent. And I think it's amazing that, I could have family watch us play on TSN throughout the summer, when back then when I was playing overseas or playing with Team Canada, it was like they couldn't even watch me play. So the fact that we're able to have a league in Canada and uplift, the Canadian culture, and also allow players to get contracts. So many players are, going to the G League off of this season, or going to hire, overseas teams off of this season. So I don't know. I see the benefit of the league. I just want it to get better, like everybody else does. They just want it to be, ran soundly and ran better, which it is, and it continues to get better every single year. It's like they add a new facet to the CEBL where it's like it makes it way more attractive and appealing. And I just think that, if there's basketball to be played, I would love to do it on my home soil. Just being a Canadian, I always want to represent Canada to the highest level. And since I'm not playing Team Canada right now, I feel like the CEBL is the next step. And so that's why I wanted to come back instead of going to like a Mexico league or going to South America, which a lot of players go to right now in the summer. But yeah, again, it happened. It was like a bad breakup. It is what it is. We're here now, and hopefully, we can all learn from it and be better.
Question I've always wanted to ask somebody, player, coach, someone within this league, and I just haven't had a chance to do that yet. We talk all the time about how, the talent that is getting better and better each year. G League guys, guys from overseas, Canadians, all of the above. What is it about this league when we bring in guys from the G League who have had success in the G League or with NBA teams, or, better than mediocre success, but when they get to the CEBL, they struggle? I'm not going to name names. I can think of a few. I'm not going to name names. But what is it about this league? Is it faster? Is it better than a lot of people expect? Like, what is it about this league that, kind of trips some guys up that are successful south of the border, and then they come up here and they're just not?
I think it's a combination of the two things you said. One, I think is quicker. It's actually funny. After the game yesterday, JK John Knight said, "Oh, it's a little faster than G League." I didn't expect that.
Okay.
And then two,
Okay.
I will say it is physical. I think it is more physical than certain leagues, but also I think it's the undermining aspect where a lot of Americans, when they think of Canadians, because that's how I feel when I play Americans my whole life, when it was like AAU or when I would go to University of South Carolina to prove myself, and we had this stigma of Canadians being soft or not being as talented,
which is
or,
wild,
which is crazy.
Steve Nash, right?
Exactly.
Like, right? Like, anyway,
it's insane. But shout out to guys like you said, Steve Nash, or now SGA and Dylan Brooks, who are kind of changing the narrative when it comes to Canadian basketball and culture. Jamal Murray won a championship, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that that's the biggest thing. Like, because this is my reaction when I play certain Americans for the first time, or we're playing 1-on-1 after practice, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you could." I'm like, why wouldn't you think I could do that? Like, it's just like always. I don't know why Americans think that they're just the best of the best, and we don't play basketball down here. But maybe that's what it is. They're unprepared. Summer league, they might take it lightly. Yeah. I know it's a different basketball as well. I know the Elam ending is something that people have to adjust to, and it's not a normal thing for certain players. And yeah, I just think that it's a different style of basketball. Like, you're mixing in the FIBA concept, right? So a lot of Americans who never played overseas and they only played NCAA and D1 or only played NBA or NBA G League, it's a different style of basketball. It's 0.5 style of basketball. You got to move it. It's not isolation and tons of pick and rolls and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's them trying to adjust to the rules of the FIBA culture, but also just them undermining, Canadian talent in basketball. And every time you see them kind of either get shown up or they rise to the occasion.
Yeah, well, it's a testament to the league. It's a testament to the Canadians that are playing in this league. So that's, very good answer. I appreciate that. Always wanted to know that. All right, let's do target time. Joey, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you know you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. I see that Batman logo. Is that your favorite superhero? Favorite superhero,
Batman by far. Bruce Wayne. They call me Deuce Wayne.
I love that, Deuce Wayne. Okay, let's stick with the superhero. I think I already know the answer to this here, but if you had to take one superhero that best describes you as a basketball player, you take all their superpowers into account, what superhero do you think best reflects you as a basketball player?
Wow, I'm gonna have to keep it there with Batman, only because I relate to him so much. When you speak to casuals who don't really read comics or who are maybe just who watched DC movies recently or whatever, and never grew up on the shows or the comics, they're always like, but Batman has no powers. And I'm like, that's your biggest mistake, is that Batman's one of the smartest guys out there. He's one of the most resourceful guys out there, but the way he's able to prepare for every situation, it's like he's always prepared. And I like to approach the basketball court that way. I have a certain game plan, but if it doesn't work out, I have a fail safe. I have something else right there in my back pocket. I think he's able to utilize so many different facets. And I think the superpower is that he doesn't have a superpower and that he's underdog. And I like that about me in basketball. There's games where I could have 30 points. There's games where I could have 5 charges. There's games where I could, have 10 assists and I just be versatile. And I think Batman's just great in that aspect of that. He can lead, he can play the background when he's with Justice League, or he can be the most important figure if he needs to be. So I always like that, even though he didn't have any superpowers, like he was one of the most talented and most useful and important superheroes in the comics.
He's resourceful.
Yes.
And you know what I like about him the most? I'm not a big comic book guy, but I would probably say Batman's my favorite because I am afraid of bats. Mm-hmm. And so is Bruce Wayne. Yeah. And he leans into the fear to save the world time and time again. And Chris, this is probably a good moment to just remind our viewers here, if you're new to the show, it is the first one in Vancouver, that target time is the slowest version of rapid fire questioning you're ever gonna experience in your entire life. Kind of like target time, there is no clock. So yeah, you're allowed to elaborate a little bit. So if you're expecting rapid fire, so sorry.
Gotta ask this guy about a movie question. I mean, check out Scene DMs. This guy's a cinephile. We all know that about Duane Notice. You have an empty theater for yourself. You could pick one movie to put on the big screen by yourself. You get it all. You get the popcorn. You get any treat you want. All that space. Take a girl. Take her out for the night. What's the movie you're putting on that big screen? Tough question. I knew it was gonna be a loaded.
It's a very tough question for me. Is
you can pick a couple. Maybe different. A couple different genres. Maybe.
Okay. If I'm by myself, it'll be like Heat with De Niro and Pacino, or it'll be like Godfather 2, just because I think that's like acting at its highest frequency. It's a lot of guys who are not they're saying a lot but not doing a lot, but in their subtle gestures, just like they're conveying so many messages, and I just love that. It's like peak acting to me, and performance wise and storytelling, and I just think that's such like a bond between, you know, the mafia culture and just how our world is and everything. So I just love those movies, and I think it'll be great to see on a big screen. But if I'm like taking a female or my homies, it might have to be like a comedy. Like you could throw in any Will Ferrell or Vince Vaughn or Jim Carrey type of comedy in there.
Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, by far. Like any one of those will out.
Yeah.
And even, you know, The Other Guys is probably one of my favorite movies too. So I'll probably throw in The Other Guys, Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. I think that would be hilarious as well.
I'm a big SNL guy. Will Ferrell's hosting the finale, so I'm stoked for that.
Is he really?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, they got to pull out the Celebrity Jeopardy or something like that.
Sick.
Oh, I guarantee you they will.
Yes.
Guarantee you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually ride his wave here on the questioning with the movies. Okay, so if you can watch your favorite movie, whether it's Godfather or not, you can pick the movie. But what if you can watch a movie with either an actor or director or writer, who would be the person you would want to watch a movie with for their own performance? Like kind of getting like personal commentary of a movie with someone that you could ask any question while the movie, you can pause it if you want, but who would you want to watch their movie with?
For me, if we're taking an actor or actress, I'll have to say Denzel Washington by far. I will ask him so many questions of why he made certain nuanced decisions in his performances, or like why he did certain things. His range, his versatility, how he's able to keep a little bit of himself in every role. Yeah. Even though he's like embodying different characters, or De Niro, I think how he goes so method. And then maybe Tom Cruise, like how he's able to do all these different stunts and what he prepares for athletically. But then when it comes to actresses, I'll probably say Meryl Streep for sure. Like I'll ask her, I want to watch her explain to me why she made certain decisions. 'Cause I think she's like the GOAT when it comes to actresses. And then I would say like Julia Roberts, secondly. And then, yeah, I don't know. When it comes to directors, though, I definitely want to sit down with Martin Scorsese, like for sure. I want to sit down with him and ask him a plethora of questions. Plus, he seems like he loves movies, so it'll be like a great rabbit hole conversation for me.
Okay, so fun little side story. In high school, one of my best friends was like a cinephile. Like he directed stuff. He did short films, like way ahead of his time. And I grew up in a small town, not far from Sudbury, actually, in Timmins, Ontario. He wrote Martin Scorsese in high school, and Martin Scorsese sent him back a signed poster.
Wow.
It was like really, really cool. Okay, so just because you said Denzel Washington first, what movie would you watch of his?
I feel like everybody would say Training Day, but for me, I would probably say Crimson Tide, and that's only because he started it with Gene Hackman, and at the time, Gene Hackman is like one of the best actors ever. And I wanted to know like what it's like to be already considered a big dog in your space, and then you're seeing someone else who's been doing it longer than you, and you kind of revere, and how it is to operate in that space. So I feel like in basketball, it's the same thing. Like you might have a star player from another team join another star player from a team that's already been on that team, and it's like, how do you make that synergy and that dynamic work and pull off a performance that's true to the nature of like what the movie is or what the actual situation is, but also like they're learning from each other. It's like if you watch Crimson Tide, I mean, obviously it's about submarines, so it's not the best subject in the world, but the way they're able to face off and go back and forth, it's like just tit for tat, and you just learn so much about just manipulation, about power, about just conceding to things. And I think that I'll be interested to see how he was able to navigate that space of basically working in an environment where Denzel's a superstar, but then Gene Hackman's a respected star, but not like a superstar in that space. So I would ask him certain questions about that. And then obviously being directed by, Tony Scott, I think is awesome as well too.
I'm not the biggest movie guy, and I do have to get better at watching movies when they come out. But when I think of Denzel, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 is one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a really good movie.
Just want to get that out there. All right, one of the top Canadians in our league. You are. What's your go-to order at Tim Hortons?
Go-to order at Tim Hortons, double for sure. And then this one might be a little weird, but I like the cinnamon raisin bagel, toasted with butter. And I put jam on it. I add jam to it. So yeah, the cinnamon raisin bagel, toasted with butter, a double coffee. Back in my day, when I was younger, I used to drink a lot of ice caps. And then I realized I was cramping a lot in tournaments. And my mom was like, "How are you cramping at 14 years old?" I started realizing it's because I'm drinking ice caps before games, which is just not good. So I haven't drank ice caps in a minute. So again, double, probably be cinnamon raisin bagel toasted with butter and jam. I like jam on everything. I'm weird. I put jam on eggs and stuff. And then I'll probably do like, Timbits, but I'll choose what kind of Timbits, like sour cream glazed and stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. My next question is, if you could play any other sport professionally, you don't have to be good at it. Like, you get to choose the skill set. What sport would you play?
That's a great question. I think it would either be bowling. If people out there are trying to say bowling's not a sport, it is. Bowling or
bowling.
Yeah, like
nice.
I feel like the stereotypical answer would be for me to say American football, especially because of my body size and everybody. Like literally the other day, someone was like, "You're on the basketball team? I thought you played football." I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or it's disrespectful, but I guess football. But like, I didn't grow up loving football until I went to the University of South Carolina, and I realized that American street football like religion. And
I
didn't go to the first game, and everyone was like, I almost got my scholarship revoked for not going to the football game, and then I became a fan after that. So. Yeah.
All right, last one from me. As we record this, I'm going to give you a little bit of time. As we record this, it's Mother's Day. Shout out Mama Notice. Tell me something about Mom.
Shout out to my moms. All the moms out there. I think they're imperative. They're special. They're important because they give us life. But also, it's like the first form of unconditional love, right? So, you can mess up, you can make mistakes, you can, be your true self in front of your mother. So. I love my mother because not only did she, support my dreams of playing basketball, myself and my brother, Marcus Carr, who plays basketball, like just providing us the amount of resources she did, even though she didn't really have the ends to make it meet. She did what she could to it's always interesting when you grow up. I don't have any kids yet, but I always think about when I was younger, how it never felt like we were living a certain type of lifestyle because my mother did just a great job of providing for us and making sure life just felt great and had fun. And then when you look back on how hard she had to work and the different jobs she was doing and how she was trying to make things happen for us, it's like you have a greater appreciation, especially as an adult. So for me, I think you should always respect your mother. I think I love my mother so much. I think playing in Sudbury and the BSL has been great for me because she got to come to so many games the past couple of years, and before playing overseas, playing at University of South Carolina, she wasn't able to watch me live. So
making up for lost time.
Winning a championship, winning the MVP in front of her was something that was amazing. And I think that it makes me play even harder knowing that she's in the building. So I love my moms, and everybody should love their moms too. My grandmas, everybody has a mother out there. I hope they're having a great day and they're feeling supported and appreciated.
Okay, so now I have to ask a Mother's Day related question, so I don't look like the jerk question asker here. If you look at yourself, what is the strongest quality that you have that you clearly got from your mom?
I think I don't know if it's discernment or it's my ability to process things. My mom's very good at reacting, but then processing before she reacts. So I think for me, it also bleeds into the quality and the traits of my game because everybody's always especially when they first meet me, they're like, "Yo, you're so chill." I'm not a rah guy. I could dunk on somebody and just run back on defense trying to pick up 94 feet. I can make a big shot. I forget to celebrate. Teammates before the games are like, "Yo, do this celebration." I'll be forgetting. Target score, there's a couple of them where I made it. I was like, "Oh, we won." I didn't even know. So and then equally so, when we, if I'm having a bad game or turn the ball over, you're not going to see it on my face. You're not going to see, I'm poised. And I think I get that from my mother for sure. She could have a bad day at work, but we wouldn't have known it. She came in the house and made sure she, made dinner for us and provided whatever she had, took us to basketball practice, did what she had to do. So for me, I think it's that ability to process things in real time and just kind of think before I act.
I could take a lesson from your mom with that.
It's hard.
It is hard, and it's bit me in the ass a few times. But I'm learning. All right, that concludes Target Time. Thank you for doing this, man. It had to be you on our inaugural episode. We appreciate your time.
No, thank you. I had a great time, man. Hopefully I could do it again. This is fun.
All right. Thanks again to Duane Notice. Always a great chat. Duane's got lots to say, very articulate, and this guy loves his movies.
He's one of my favorite guys in the CEBL to talk to. One of the, so well spoken, so articulate, so insightful. Good first guest landing there, Chris, on getting him for the first show.
Appreciate
And I know he'll be a repeat customer coming on the show because he's got stories for days.
Definitely. And we're gonna have some rotating co-hosts, which will kind of be fun too. Guests from other markets, maybe other sideline reporters, maybe other play-by-play guys. So there's always going to be great conversation on this podcast. So looking forward to it. As for the Bandits, what we can expect coming up, their first away game this week, as we recorded Sunday. So this is going to air on Wednesday. The next day, Bandits have their first game one on the road in Saskatoon against the brand new Mamba.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Our first look at the new Mamba, the last team to find ownership with the CEBL. They went through a full rebrand. We could spend a whole segment on that, but formerly known as the Rattlers. The Mamba name was, I would say, a hot topic when it came out in the rebrand. It was a lightning rod, a lot of controversy around it. Some love it, a lot don't. But this will be the first time that we're seeing them there, and it's at the SaskTel Center. That's the other thing. The Mamba are playing two different venues. The Merlish, I'm going to say it wrong, Merlis Bell Center. It's the University of Saskatchewan Hockey Arena.
Yeah,
that'll be turned in much smaller. But they're playing this one at SaskTel Center where they played before. Massive arena. It's where the Saskatoon Blades play. And that's been a bit of a sore spot for Saskatoon. It's a little bit out of the way. They've been wanting to get a little more central and a more intimate setting. But this one will be at the big, under the big lights of SaskTel Center. And we'll get a first look at what this team's going to be about. It's a whole new culture out there, led by an ownership group out of Calgary that own the Calgary Surge. Jason Ribeiro leading that charge. They were late getting on things because it was a late transaction. Only happened late in 2025. But they've got a sneaky good lineup, man. As the signings have been coming in, I think they've got a solid foundation. They've got a good coaching staff there as well. G League head coach with some guys from the U Sports ranks. Assistant coach Jamie Campbell, who's the head coach of the University of Saskatchewan. So it's going to be interesting though. This is going to be a first look for a lot of people at this new team and what they mean. It's not the Saskatchewan Rattlers anymore. It is the Saskatoon Mamba.
Yeah. So the Bandits will start there, then they'll head to Edmonton for a home and home with the Stingers. So they'll be in Edmonton, and then their home opener a little later in May. I believe it's May 22nd. Home and home. So they'll do the Stingers will come to the LEC. So looking forward to getting some fans back at LEC, seeing the home opener. Brand new video screen at LEC. They've got the rounded edges. So a brand new video screen. It's going to be a great environment as it always is at LEC. So looking forward to seeing how the Bandits kind of get going on the road, which is always a challenge to start the year on the road. So if they come back, 2-0, if they come back, of course 2-0, but if they come back 1-1, I think that is a success to start the season just on the road. It's always challenging. 2-0 is the goal. We'll see what happens.
It's a tough little gauntlet here because you've got Saskatoon. There's going to be excitement there. First game of the new era, home opener. You go to Edmonton. It won't be their home opener, but they're 0-1, bit of a sour taste in their mouth. And they've got, some time to go over what went wrong on Saturday against Winnipeg to prepare for Vancouver. And they'll have some tape on Vancouver because it's also the Bandits' second game. But hey, Edmonton, we talked about how great the fan base is in Vancouver. Edmonton's another one. With a great fan base, great atmosphere. So it's going to be electric in there. And then you come home to the LEC to play the Stingers again. And the nice thing about that is you're going to have some carryover from that first game in Edmonton. So it's a bit of a gauntlet start. I like it.
I like it too. Don't forget CBC. We're back on CBC this summer. And the next CBC game is as we talked about with Duane Notice, is the rematch of that Western semifinal, Vancouver Canadian from LEC. I'll be on the call with Arash Madani and Javon Shepard. So that's coming up the next
Congrats,
CBC
dude.
game.
That's
Thank
awesome
you.
Too.
I appreciate
National reporter. I love it.
Thank you. And congrats to you to be back on the squad with CBC in the national games this year too. So looking forward to it. It's going to be great. Yeah. So that's the next CBC game. It'll be very interesting to see how the Western Conference shakes out. It's always, again, like we talked about with Duane, you always think it's going to be Vancouver or Calgary, but you never know. Like Winnipeg could go on a tear this summer. Teddy Allen's back. You don't really know under a new coach, right? So you don't know how that system's going to play out. Maybe Winnipeg maybe Winnipeg is the team to catch this year in the Western Conference. Grass isn't always greener. Maybe Edmonton too. Never really know.
Never count out the Edmonton Stingers. They've got two. They're one of two teams to have two banners hanging in their arena for a reason.
Absolutely. Yes.
And right when you think they're done, even last year, they went on a run. I think it was like 12 games or something, but got them right back into the conversation. So never count out a Jordan Baker Stingers team.
Very good point. Very good point. All right. That does it for the first episode of Target Score Vancouver. Again, all part of the Target Score Podcast Network. Don't forget, Winnipeg's got a podcast, Target Score Winnipeg. Target Score Brampton has a podcast now for all your Eastern Conference basketball CEBL fans. So check us out, Target Score Pod. Joey, my man, the creator, thank you for doing this for the first episode. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Congrats on getting it off the ground, my friend. I'm looking forward to tuning in.
All right, this is next Wednesday, episode 2. So we'll see who the rotating co-host will be. But next Wednesday, episode 2 drops, and we'll talk to you then.